We're all used to watching Netflix at home, but over the years, Netflix have actually accrued 8 Oscar nominations. And in fact, over the next year, apparently they're going to have a new feature film every 3 days, which is insane. This week, Steven Spielberg, who's been out doing the rounds promoting a movie, suggested that really good Netflix movies shouldn't be nominated necessarily for Oscars, but in fact for Emmys, which is an interesting argument. So Netflix films, you watch them at home, should they be nominated for Oscars or Emmys? To debate this, we have our panel this week from Access Informatics, Peter Marks, and Ray Johnson, the editor of Gizmodo Australia. Ray, I'll start with you. Given the choice, where do you stand? Should they be nominated for Oscars or Emmys?
They're following the rules, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're bending them a little, but they're not breaking any rules.
And Silicon Valley does love to bend a rule or two,
right?
don't they?
So being in the cinemas for, even if it is a limited release, technically they qualify. I feel like this is a bit of jealous semantics
But is it in the
here.
spirit of it, though?
No, and it's absurd. I mean, the distinction is ridiculous.
I love it when we have disagreements. It happens
distinction
so rarely on this
should
show.
just go away. So the difference between a cinema release, which I guess means that anyone can potentially go and see the film, compared to a streaming release where only subscribers can go and see it.
Okay, cinemas aren't free to enter. You still got to pay to go into them. In fact, they're more expensive.
You don't have to subscribe for 12 months to go and see the one movie. And I fear that means we're going to be pushing people back towards piracy, because they're going to say, oh, I really want to see that movie. I don't want to sign up to whatever, Netflix for a year. So I will get it however I can get it.
1 month of Netflix is cheaper than a single movie ticket in this country.
I think when you look at the rates of piracy in Australia in particular, we're pirating things that aren't accessible here, that we're not getting on streaming services. People are happy to sign up to Netflix and Stan and Hey You and all these services.
Not all of them. Not all of them. So if you're a real movie buff and you want to see a lot of new movies that come out, you're faced with paying, $10, $20 a month for 6 different streaming services.
Which is still cheaper than a ticket to the movies.
I was going to say, if you're also a real movie buff, you're also up for hundreds of dollars if you want to see every big release in the cinemas as well. I think the cost argument is a really interesting one, because I think part of why Netflix has been successful has been price point. It's very cheap. It just is super cheap. But I'm also kind of curious as to why they want an Oscar. There's been this unwritten thing out there that they have funneled all of this money into feature films. In the last couple of years, they built their business model on premium drama, things that you would binge, you'd sit there, and that makes sense to me. Like, I get why that works for their business model. I don't understand why feature films is something that they're actively investing in and want to win an Oscar for, beyond the fact, Ray, that it just feels good to go to the Oscars.
Well, I think it also legitimizes a lot of the work that people are putting in. You've got huge cast and crew working on these films, and they probably feel like the quality of work that they're putting out is up there with the standard funded cinema release films. So they want to be seen on the same level playing field. I'd say, I'm guessing, I'm not basing this on anything, but if I worked on a Netflix film, it doesn't matter where the funding's from, where it's being shown. If my work is better than the films that are getting Oscars, I'd kind of want to have the chance to be able to compete on that level. And so maybe we won't have a repeat of things like Suicide Squad winning Best Hair and Makeup when you can clearly see the lace front on Harley Quinn's wig.
Well, that's an interesting point, actually. I mean, things like House of Cards was shot in 4K. I mean, that is as high quality as you're going to get in a movie cinema. In fact, it's better.
Yeah.
A lot of cinemas in Australia, I understand, play the movies in 2K. Plus, if you've got the lights, the exit lights in the cinema, the black level is worse than you get at home on your TV. Now, the sound is still better, so it's a better experience in that way. But I would argue that what's the difference in the quality? I think actually you can get better quality at home.
And it's worth pointing out that Walt Disney, in their this gargantuan corporation that, of course, at this stage own Pixar, Lucasfilm, and Marvel, and they are launching their own streaming service to compete with Netflix. Even they have said, we will always send our top-line Star Wars movies, our Marvel movies, to a cinema because that is an experience that they can monetize at a different price point. And it is about the experience for them. It keeps it special to some degree.
Well, and some films, I think, really work well in a crowd. Comedies, it's so much different to be in a theatre full of people who are all laughing, or maybe Star Wars where it's a fan kind of thing. I think that really works well in a group situation. But I think a lot of movies are actually better at home with 1 or 2 people really engaged in them. And also, I really like, I hate to say it, being able to pause and go and get a glass of wine or something like that. I mean, that is a good feature too.
A couple of years ago, and this is an appalling name drop, so just bear with me. A couple of years ago for the TV show I work on, I interviewed Eric Bana, and he'd just released a comedy with Ricky Gervais, and he said something that really stuck with me. It's like, I have made huge films with Spielberg and people like that, but he's never had so many text messages from his friends and family as when he did a Netflix comedy, because it went to 100 and gazillion countries all around the world instantly, and he instantly just got this huge influx from friends and family that could not be bothered to see Munich at the big screen, but were really quite happy to watch Special Correspondence on Netflix. So there is something about that idea that Netflix has provided a global opening, which is something that cinemas have done for a really long time, to that home experience as well. And I guess that has an appeal for talent as well, I imagine.
In general, when you're making a film, knowing that it will have that global release and you're less likely to suffer the ill effects of piracy is a big plus. In this situation, we're really ignoring the direction that the viewing of films is going if we don't count Netflix films and films made for streaming services in awards like this.
Well, maybe the awards need to change. And the difference between the Oscars and the Emmys is not really the screen that they're on. It should be something else. It should be the duration. It should be the budget. There is something different. I think that, big TV series, House of Cards, Mad Men, I mean, they are longer than any movie. And, the amount of work that's gone into them and budget that's gone into them. So they deserve to be taken seriously.
You could, once upon a time, have made the argument that Netflix shows shouldn't have counted for the Emmys either. But the Emmys opened themselves up to streamers instantly in their best interest. But there would have been an argument 5-10 years ago that the House of Cards should be up for a Webby, not for an Emmy, not for an Oscar.
Yeah.
So the Emmys have already sort of bent around the market, and maybe the Oscars should too.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right, keen to get your thoughts on this. You can tweet along with the show. The hashtag is download this show. You can also download it because that's what we tell you to do on the title. It's a podcast. You can find it on the ABC Listen app or any podcasting app you have. Thanks, guys.